Hello, my name is Becky Leitner, and one of the leadership qualities that I had chosen is communication. I believe that communication is one of the biggest leadership qualities that you can have in a relationship with coworkers, even in your personal life. As a teacher, communication is very important in the way that you handle certain situations, also in the private sector as well. So that's why I chose communicating in your life and communication as well as being part of your biggest leadership quality. Now, there are different types of communication processes that I have seen in my field of experience for quite some time. And obviously, there's always the sender, the receiver, and how the message is actually sent. In my experiences in the private sector, the way you speak about a message or the way you deliver a message can mean a lot. Whether your tone can be high or it can be low. If I were to say, Miss Leitner, please come over here and do something like this. You're going to think that the sender is giving that message. The receiver is probably thinking, oh my goodness, what is their problem? Whereas if I were to say something like, Miss Leitner, I need your help. Do you mind coming over here to assist me? Then the receiver is going to take that more as a compliment, more of an engaging relationship, and not be as scared probably, and will think of it as being more welcoming and enabling for the conversation to proceed. Now, the purposes of communication, there are a few different bullet points that I have on here. Obviously, the purpose is to always share your information with your coworkers, your leadership. Of course, if you are in leadership, it's very good to share this information because knowledge shared is always a good thing. You want to also build a good image about yourself. You want to be able to persuade. You also want to build those self-esteem and those relationships within each other. And you can only do that through proper communication. And if you have a positive way of communicating with someone, then obviously it will help you in every situation. If you look at things in an open perspective, the way you communicate to someone else will also reveal how you're going to communicate back to them. Defense, being a defensive talker or a defensive person can sometimes hinder good communication skills. Now, in the business world, there are, I'm sorry, let me get back. I apologize. In the business world, there's different types of ways of getting across things to your partner or to your coworkers and etc. In the previous slide that I had, and I apologize that I cannot get back to it, but it explains how you can actually set down certain standards, certain ways that you want to deliver your presentation, the way you want to get people excited, the way you want to pitch something, the way you want to enable communication between each other, talk to your crowd, things of that nature. But that's one way you can do positive feedback. Now, on this particular slide, confidential information, I believe, is very, very important. I am a teacher and I have worked in the private sector for 30-something years, so I have dealt with a lot of confidentiality, and confidential data is probably the utmost important thing when you need to keep it private and secret. Of course, patient health records, employee salaries, plans for a new product. So a lot of times you hear about people leaking out information. So if you are a leader, you need to make sure that your group and the people that you work with understand confidentiality and the importance of it, because you don't want new things to leak out. I know a lot of us will say, oh, I heard this music from such and such. Well, it was probably leaked, which is against the law, and that's a breach of confidentiality. A lot of you are probably very familiar with HIPAA, which is patient health records. That is a very big no-no. Actually, when I was in the private sector, I have had to terminate employees because of the fact that they had released information about a family member or a friend to other individuals, which is against the law. And even in my private sector, I work in special education. We cannot speak about our students. We don't have cameras in our room because of the confidentiality that's required with each student. Now, employees that can share confidential data with others, those are very few and far between, and usually these are also kept in an area, and you have a meeting in an area where it's a one-on-one or with a individual. So if you're not authorized to look at something, or if you do not have the permission to share confidential data, then just don't do it. Don't even do it. If you have questions about it, you need to make sure you ask your leadership team. Communication barriers is a big issue in a lot of areas. We have them in America. We have them when we're communicating with people overseas, etc. We have the external barriers, which is poor lighting, heat, or cold or noise. Those are things that can prevent communication from happening. Say, for example, you're in a meeting and the lighting's not very well, you're trying to present something. That can be an external barrier that you need to overcome whenever you're communicating. The room can be extremely cold, or you could have a room next door that's extremely noisy. So those are type of external barriers that you will have to learn how to either nip them in the bud, as per se, or learn how to deal with those, or actually just move what you have to do somewhere else. So dealing with external barriers is another communication tool that needs to be handled with professionalism. Document appearance. When you present something, even in my fields, everything we have to present has to be a professional type of a presentation. So that's also an external barrier. And so you need to make sure that things that you have are in a professional sense. Closed communication climate is also another type of external barrier. In my personal life and in my professional life, I like to keep my communication lines open. I do have an open door policy, especially being a special ed teacher. I help every student that I can, and of course being part of leadership as well, I tend to have an open door policy when it comes to those that need my help. We do have internal barriers, and the internal barrier would be your education, the way what your education level is, and you may be speaking to someone who may not understand you well. So whenever you're communicating, try not to use words that are too big, that can actually hang up a conversation, because you could talk to them and you could say certain words that would actually make them think for a second, what is she trying to say, or what is she trying to get across? So actually simplicity is easy to do, and make it as simple as possible for everyone to understand the message that you are trying to get across. Because using big words doesn't mean that you're smart, doesn't mean that you're educated or anything like that. Sometimes you're just not educated on the same level as someone else. Now, when you're overcoming barriers, you have the sender's duties, the audience's analysis, the message environment, the symbol and channel selection, and then of course you're seeking feedback. These are all very important, because when we're talking to someone, whether it be a classroom, whether it be a presentation, whether it be we're speaking to leadership teams, your audience is your biggest receptor, and you want to make sure that you get your message across to them. So a lot of times what I would do, well, I will engage, and if I start talking about something, I will actually point to someone in the audience and ask them, can you give me an example of a time maybe you have had this happen to you? And that's when I know that the audience is actually engaged in my conversation and engaged in what I'm doing. And so I seek that feedback all the time. Even in my students, I seek that feedback, because if they can answer or reply back to what I'm trying to teach them, then I know that I'm actually getting across. And if I'm not, then I need to go down a different pathway to overcome any type of barriers that I may have with individuals. Now, the receiver's duties like say for example, I'm talking to you right now, is you should be listening, or you could be reading, since it's a PowerPoint. And obviously, each receiver has the opportunity to select which one they want to do, and it's a free thing. And they have obviously feedback as well. So their feedback is just as important as someone who is not reading or listening. They may be able to give you feedback in a different way. So we're going to check our understanding. So reading skills are important for success. We all know that at school. Speaking as a special ed teacher, on the job, that's actually a lot of you work in the private sector. I did work in the private sector. Communication is very important on the job as well. And in our personal activities, obviously, when we're talking to individuals on the personal level, when I speak to my children, I am speaking to them in a personal level, and I have to make sure that they are understanding what I'm doing. So it's very important that you're doing these at these particular levels, and you're doing it for success. I know one way of checking understanding whenever you're communicating with individuals is paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is a great way to get your message across if they did not understand it the first time. A lot of times I see individuals, especially in leadership, they will paraphrase things if they understand, if they see that the audience is not understanding what they're trying to get across to them. Now, last slide is questions, and I put a little image up here about communication, and it says, and that is why we lift on 3. So you can tell by the image that the surgeon is giving instructions about when they should lift something. And so in life, take this as a note, and especially from experience, communication is the biggest thing that you can have. Always keep open lines of communication if you can. Sometimes with our busy lives and things that may happen in our lives that are personal, we tend to overlook that. But I promise you, if you are talking to someone who is open-minded and understands you, and you have built a good rapport with them, then communication should not be an issue with you. It'll make life a whole lot easier for you in the future, especially if you're looking to expand your career. Again, I appreciate you listening to my presentation about communication, because it is very important, and I believe that it is one of the best leadership qualities you can have, in my personal opinion. I have to always expand on it and always have to learn about it, and I try to do my best to accommodate whomever I need. But anyway, thank you. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I love talking to people, and I look for any positive feedback or even constructive criticism. I'm open to all of that. Have a great day, everyone, and have a great summer. Thank you.